in the cultivation of the food, and so forth. And they have been kind to you in that sense. And then the animals, the meat or the flesh that you eat come from animals. If you could make prayers for them as well, it would be positive. And so when you have set your mind in a positive state of mind, with a positive motivation to benefit others, all things that you do would be positive.
A Moscow Buddhist Center, Jipungaman Center. It will be asked by the director of the center, Ms. Natalia Bespalova.
Здравствуйте, Ваше Святейшество.
Good morning. When a person realizes emptiness of outer phenomena and oneself, his afflictions or pleasures, anger and so forth disappear. However, love and compassion towards sentient beings remain. Why do they remain and don't disappear like kleshas?
Ваше Святейшество, а могли бы вы посоветовать что-то из вашего собственного опыта? Как восстановить вдохновение к практике, если оно пропало?
So when you say realizing emptiness, it doesn't mean nothing exists. You're not saying things are empty with the nihilistic idea. So however many times you may say you have realized emptiness, it should not be just lip service. First, you need to see if you have actually recognized the object to be negated. And so, and then when you realize emptiness, you, instead of becoming nihilist, you'll be able to see how this realization of emptiness supports your practices of helping others, compassion and so forth. And so it should be a support to your practice of altruism. So if you have a good understanding, a perfect understanding of emptiness, these other experiences of compassion, love, and so forth should increase. So it seems you have a wrong understanding of emptiness. So if you have a good understanding of emptiness, the conventionalities of things would also be acceptable. Which says that if you do good, you'll have a positive consequence. If you do bad things, you'll have bad consequences. So you'll be able to. So in the beginning of the Madhyamaka Avatara, entering the middle way, Chandrakirti says that the understanding of emptiness, with the understanding of emptiness, you see that our destructive emotions cause us suffering. And so with this attachment to oneself, you say, I am, and this leads to the attachment to mine, things, possessions, and in this way. And so through these clinging to some objective existence in self and others, objects, you propel yourself in this samsara. So emptiness should not lead you to think things are nothing.
Your Holiness, the next question is from St. Petersburg, from the Center of Arya Deva, which is part of the FPMT, Foundation for the Preservation of Mahayana Tradition. It will be asked by Dinara Zaidulina.
Здравствуйте, Ваше Святейшество. Спасибо за вашу доброту и учение. Вопрос. Я понимаю так, что когда человек познает пустоту внешних явлений себя, у него исчезают клеши, гнев.
So at the beginning of the practice, there is always an inspiration. We practice easily and with pleasure. And then there comes a point where practice becomes routine and something ordinary. The urge to practice generates. Your Holiness, could you advise something based on your experience, how to rejuvenate aspiration? So you should not just make things routine for you, but like following a syllabus in a school. But you need to have more a broader view of what you are doing in your practice. Put it in a broader perspective. So in today's world, even educated people become troublemakers, and they are not happy as well. So we should not take things for granted, like we usually do, but think more broadly. So we do talk about peace in the world, but everyone is fighting with each other. And then in the worst case, religion, which is meant for making us more disciplined and controlled, is used for fighting with others, killing others, and so forth. And so, look at the world, understand the situation, and then these problems you'll understand that the problem shows that the education system in the world today, the existing education system, is not adequate. So, of course, as I usually say, physical hygiene is taken care of in our education system, but mental hygiene is not taught. So we need to learn what disturbs our mind and what are those which can counter these disturbances, the causes for these disturbances. And so, without having to talk about world peace first, we need to think first of, we could think of having a peace of mind within each individual, and that creates, and to create a family, a peaceful family, and then that extends to your community, and then the global community. So we should think of implementing the methods for peace of mind through taking care of the emotional hygiene. So if you have altruistic attitude towards others, love and compassion, you will have peace of mind. And if you are overcome with jealousy, anger, attachment, and so forth, you will not have peace of mind, and there will not be peace in the community and family, and so forth. And so, through my contact and discussions with modern scientists, I have been talking about this cultivation of emotional hygiene. And so, in the West, they don't have much idea about the mind and emotions much. And so the modern scientists, many of them also are taking interest in learning from our tradition about human psychology, mind and emotions. So when I have discussions with these scientists, they do tell me that it helps in bringing peace of mind. They are not talking about past and future lives, or nor do they talk about a creator God. We are not talking about these things, but for our own peace of mind, we need to implement the secular ethics in our life. This is what I'm talking about. So when your interest grows further in this teaching of secular ethics, then you will also be able to you can also go into Buddhist teachings for bringing about peace of mind, overcoming these negative emotions by combining both the skillful means, or the methods and wisdom. So you should take interest in that.
Your Holiness, we have a question from Moscow, which was sent to us by email. I will read it to you. The majority of practicing Buddhists do not have the possibility to constantly be close to their root guru to ask a question and receive guidance according to the circumstances. How to judge whether one is making progress in a given situation? What should be the main criteria? Our own feelings, the opinion of other people, or criteria described in authoritative texts?
No, yeah. So in
order to practice Buddhism, it's not necessary to receive a teaching from a teacher, and it's not necessary to receive oral transmissions, explanations, and so forth. But what you need, what is important, is to study text. If you have Bodhisattvacharya Avatara in Russian or not, so for over 12 centuries or so, this text has been an important text. So Master Shanti Deva, who lived in the 8th century, this guide to the Bodhisattva way of life teaches the faults or disadvantages of self-cherishing attitude and the advantages of cherishing others over oneself alone. And so there's no greater text for the practice of bodhicitta. So of course you should also study other texts which teach about the teaching of the Buddha as the support for Bodhisattvacharya Avatara. And so you can consider this text as your guru or your friend as well. And so keep this text with you, read it, and when you become angry, read the 6th chapter, which teaches patience. And then when you have anxiety, jealousy, competitive feelings, then read the 8th chapter. So consider the Bodhisattvacharya Avatara as your trusted friend. And so when you feel disturbed within yourself, when you have a disturbed state of mind, read it. So rather than having a Lama who performs a grand ritual and dancing and all that, it would be better to have Bodhisattvacharya Avatara on your bedside, at your bedside, and read it on a daily basis. And particularly when you feel disturbed within, you should read the 6th and the 8th chapters. So regarding myself, in the past, in Lhasa, when I was in Lhasa, Lamrim, the stages of the path to enlightenment, is quite a renowned teaching. Whereas after coming to exile in India, I received this teaching on this text, Bodhisattvacharya Avatara, from Kuno Lama Rinpoche Tenzin Gelsen, and since then I used it for my practice and teach this. I make the teaching this text an important point. So I saw on television some people doing some pujas or religious practice, and they are actually holding the bell in their right hand and ringing it, and then using damaru, the small drum. So it was a program on the history of Tibetan Buddhism in some program, television program where they talk about Tibetan Buddhism. They show prayer flags and doing rituals, people doing rituals. And they don't have the idea of studying Nalanda tradition, in the Nalanda tradition, that we in Tibet study the different texts, treatises for 30 years or so when we were in Tibet. And today we spent over about 20 years to study that. So this is the real tradition of Nalanda institution that we are following. So otherwise, using rituals may seem like you are doing these for your own living. So we need to understand what the Dharma means. So use Bodhisattva Charyavatara, keep it with you, and read it, study it, and when you go against the teachings in it, your practice is still not adequate. You're not doing enough practice. Whereas if you find what is taught in Bodhisattva Charyavatara as something that you are doing, even maybe 10-20% of the teaching, then it shows that your practice is going in the right direction. So I do study this text.
Your Holiness, we would like to ask the last question for today. It also was sent to us by email. How can we introduce Dharma to young generation? Which aspects do you see as most attractive for them?
So, of course, there are many different religions of the world, and there is always, we talk about the freedom of religion. And so it's better to follow your traditional religion, because it's more, your situation would be more stable. Whereas if you are someone who is inclined to using reason, and you find some religion to be more agreeable to you, then of course you can follow that. So today, in today's world, it is better to follow your own traditional religion of your forebears. On top of you following your own religion, you can of course add practices from other religious traditions. For example, if you are a Christian, you should have your faith in Jesus Christ and God. And on top of that, you can add practices from the 6th and the 8th chapters of Bodhisattva Charyavatara for in your practice. And then the chapter 9 of Bodhisattva Charyavatara deals with philosophical views. So regarding the philosophical views, of course, it would differ from other traditions. I mean, each tradition has its own philosophical views. Whereas the other chapters, such as the 6th and 8th chapters, the chapters on patience and meditative concentration, are something that are shared with other religious traditions as well. So even if you are Christian, you can still learn from these chapters. So of course, for Buddhists, you can. There's nothing wrong in following the teaching of Bodhisattva Charvatara, but if you are a Christian or Muslim, you should keep faith in your own religion while taking good counsel from other traditions. Which are beneficial. So with regards to the practice of the teaching of the Bodhisattva Charvatara, where it talks about disadvantages of self-cherishing attitude and advantages of cherishing others over oneself. This can be taken also by Christians, practitioners as well. So you can do that even if you may be Christian or Muslim or so forth. But you don't need to change your faith in your God or Allah. So for those of you who have no religious belief as such, you can follow the secular system that is followed in India, where there's respect for all religions as well. So the younger generations, of course, are a very important generation. So the older generation in the world have caused so much conflict, so much conflict in the world. So it's important to make the younger generation have a broader perspective of the world.
Yes, Your Holiness.
To be open.
Thank you very much for your precious teachings and for your answering our questions. We really look forward to seeing you tomorrow, Your Holiness.
Yes.
We are very happy to receive your teachings.
See you again tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes.